Hello YouTube, this is Chris Gilbert, External Services. Today's video is going to be yet more proof that NASA's liars, excuse me, and that we live on a biblical flat earth, and that things like our satellites and stuff like that are on weather balloons, which I've talked about for years now. I've even made videos dedicated specifically on those, proving those, that satellites are not flying around a spinning blue ball. They're under our dome. And it, I thought there's a good possibility. I've talked about this multiple times, and literally made 2 videos dedicated on them a couple months ago on this topic, that they could either be launching them from another location, or they could be, when they do their so-called rocket launches, when they do their arc, because they're arcing because they're going into a specific ocean, that they get picked up by a specific group in the military, the Navy. That when they shoot their payload off, you can clearly see it, and they say that's what they're doing. They could be launching weather balloons with like satellites and different things like that on there. And that, these could be used for, well, one, they're satellites. That's where we get our satellites from. 2, like MK Ultra mind control, stuff like that. They can beam down frequencies and stuff, and you wouldn't even know it, and put things in your mind and harm your body in different ways. Shut down your heart, whatever. They could use it for Blue Beam Project, where they could, put these projectors in on these balloons, and they can project images down and audio down from these weather balloons, and you wouldn't even know it. Same thing with like laser weapons and so on. As you see, I made a video about it here. Like what happened in Hawaii. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. Just trying not to get hit by YouTube. So anyway, there's just so many possibilities of them, why they would have these weather balloons and call them satellites floating in space. But yeah, so let's move on here. If you want to go check these out, go check them out. I know this one's kind of long, but there's just a lot of stuff in it. So I got this on Twitter. It was recommended to me. You guys can go read it if you like. Try to keep this short, but there's 2 videos I'm going to show you that pretty much say the same thing as these articles. So I looked it up, and I come across this Fox News report and this here. These are both the same videos. Pretty much this is just like a small version of this video. So let's move on to the NASA, or Fox News. Now listen to what they have to say here. And then they have a NASA employee on here, and they literally admit the water in this video here, and I think in this video they mentioned the water. They call it something else, but it's the water pretty much under or over the firmament. That God's, put the firmament or the dome or whatever you want to call it in between the water to separate the water from the water. So yeah, let's listen to what they have to say here, guys. This is crazy. This is what I've been trying to tell you guys, and I've been called nuts and crazy and a conspiracy nut and a loon. I needed to, off myself and all kinds of stuff. But they keep speaking more and more of the truth, and nobody wants to believe it. Nobody wants to hear it. They just talk all kinds of crap, unsubscribe, and keep just being brainwashed.
How about we talk about some balloons? Enough about it.
Okay.
Talk about balloons. Let's do it. The last one that actually got a lot of attention, it was the Chinese spy balloon. Remember it? It crossed over the United States back in January. Well, it was about 200 feet tall. That's 50 feet taller than the Statue of Liberty. And it hovered 60,000 feet above the Earth's surface. Seems impressive, right? Well, it's nothing compared to what NASA is working with. Take a look at this.
So the reason they bring up the spy balloon here, and then they'll say that they're not using this for spying, which they are. There's a document that I found a while back, and I was gonna put it in this video, and I'm trying to find it again. It's mixed in with another video I got going. That it's not used for spying. Yes, it is. It's part of the Big Brother. That's one of the things that they're using this for. But there's specific reasons why they use the wording that they do, and they say, "Oh, it's not for this, it's not for that."
NASA using long duration balloons not to spy, but to, well, let's just say science. They fly almost twice as high as the Chinese spy balloon did, around 117,000 feet. Forget about the Statue of Liberty. Actually, some of these are the size of sports stadiums. But what exactly is going on up there in the stratosphere? The Antarctic long duration balloon campaign, it kicked off this month, launching the first balloon of the season on Monday. Andrew Hamilton is the acting director of NASA's balloon program. He joins us now to talk about this. Andrew, good afternoon. So when we say NASA, a lot of people just think about rockets, but this balloon program, it's some serious business. What's the advantage of using balloons to study space?
Well, balloons
To study space, which is the biblical space, and then they make it up and say it's something else. But yeah, listen.
provide a very cost-effective and persistent access to the near space environment. No other platform has this capability to get up to the stratosphere and stay there for as long as it does. So the missions that we fly will be there for days or weeks. And if all goes well, this campaign will have a
Well, wouldn't the International Space Station be a platform that's supposedly hovering over Earth?
mission that flies over 2 months while it's down in Antarctica.
Which is going to be one to watch, because I know that there might be some record that's broken. We'll talk about that in a bit. When we were talking about this segment, a lot of people thought weather balloons, is this what we're dealing with? But these balloons are different. They're not weather balloons. I mean, as far as the data that's collected with weather balloons, we've got temperature, humidity, pressure all throughout the atmosphere. But these scientific balloons, they have different objectives. I mean, like, for example, mapping the Milky Way, correct?
Correct.
What exactly
the weather
with
balloons
that? It was on the 11th, right? That I think it was the LoRa balloon that launched, and that's the one that's going to be mapping the Milky Way?
No, the LoRa balloon that launched is a balloon that we're flying for ourselves. It's a technology demonstration mission to help test out some technology that will enable long-duration missions for other science. The one that's going to fly for 2 months is called the Gusto mission. It is intended to help look at the Milky Way and look specifically at the interstellar medium to understand that better, to help comprehend the life cycle of solar.
And this is how we get the dead satellites, they call them. They keep falling to Earth. And if you research it and look it up, a lot of times they have balloons hooked to them, weather balloons, and different types of balloons. They're not falling from space that NASA calls space and going through the atmosphere and hitting the ground all over the world. They're falling down, and sometimes they fall down where they don't want them to fall down, or they don't know they have fell down yet, or they haven't got to them before somebody finds them. And now we live in the internet age where everybody just records everything and puts it on the internet. So it's getting harder and harder for them to hide these things when they fall to Earth, and they got a big old balloon attached to them.
Solar systems within the galaxy.
So Gusto's the one that's really making the headlines. I mean, when it comes to the setting, you guys have chosen Antarctica. What makes Antarctica so unique, especially when we talk?
And the reason they keep picking Antarctica is because that's where the edge of the Earth is. That's where the dome comes down and meets the Earth. And that's the Atlantic Ice Treaty. Look it up. That's why we can't go there. You have to be specific people with special permission to be there. But that's why they keep picking that. That's why they keep shooting nukes up to the sky. So-called testing, like Operation Fishbowl and stuff like that. They're trying to break through the dome.
About NASA's balloon program.
Yeah. A couple of things that help us out with Antarctica. First off is the stratospheric winds. This time of year, they'll set up into a nice circumpolar flow around the continent. That gives us a very predictable pattern to fly around the landmass. The other thing that helps us out, of course, is the fact that it's 24-hour sunlight.
Which could never happen on NASA's model. And if you notice, he said circular. That's the moon, sun, and stars circling over the Earth. which I've proven multiple times. I've even shown videos of the people recording it on time lapses and stuff like that, of it going in a circle. You cannot have 24-hour day cycle, or you couldn't have nonstop sun like that in one specific area for 24-hour period for months. It just wouldn't happen on their model.
It's spring going on to summer down there, so the sun's up all the time. And so with that constant sunlight, that gives you a very consistent thermal environment so that the balloon stays at a relatively constant altitude. So between the predictable flight path and the constant altitude, you get a very stable environment, which allows the science teams and technology teams to gather a lot of data for a very long period of time.
How long has this program been in operation? And with past missions that you guys have completed, what has it helped as far as furthering this particular field of research?
So the program has been around since the 80s.
Since the 80s. So pretty much ever since satellites been supposedly, flying around this spinning blue ball.
In various forms. So it's been around a very long time, and we touch every piece of science out there, between astrophysics, heliophysics, earth science, you name it. We have helped out a lot of different parts of the science community. And many of our programs have gone on from balloon flights to be satellites or go on to the space station.
To be satellites and onto the space station. He's talking about these balloon flights. So the space station is flying around on a balloon above our biblical flat Earth, and so are satellites. He literally just admitted that.
Of the science community. And many of our programs have gone on from balloon flights to be satellites or go on to the space station as separate experiments. So there's a lot of technology maturation and science demonstration that we help out with.
Well, before we let you go, I know that there is going to be a record that's possibly broken. To imagine 55 days up there is remarkable, especially given the winds and the dynamics that you just talked about. What mission do we need to watch for that long-standing 55-day record?
So that's the Gusto mission. Their science requires them to be up for 55 days. So, and that happens to be our current record, is 55 days and a couple of hours. So we're shooting to go well past that and give them as much science as they can get.
Well, best of luck. This is the best time to do it, as you mentioned, from spring to summer, as the sun's going to be helping the entire time. Acting Director of NASA's balloon program, Andrew Hamilton, thanks for your time this morning.
You're welcome.
I mean, they're literally telling you the truth right out in the lives, guys. Just like I keep telling you they do. You have to learn to train your eyes and your ears to hear something, or just hear things and see things. Especially, these days, they're literally telling you the truth. Openly. They're not being really covert about it anymore. This is what I've been trying to tell you guys. He literally just said about the balloons and how it's went to satellites and to the space station, which is the ISS, and everything else. So these things are being are hovering over our biblical flat Earth under the dome. Just like I keep telling you guys, and they're literally telling you that's what they're doing. And I don't know if YouTube is going to hit me with this because it's got music in it, but here we go.
It's the coldest, driest, highest, and windiest continent on Earth. Despite its reputation for the fiercest weather on the planet, Antarctica is a hotspot for scientific ballooning.
See, this is what I was talking about here, how they can launch it from a different location or from the rockets, or like you saw in that one video I was just showing you, it kept showing a plane with stuff on top of it. They could be launching them anyway, all the time. That's why, and I think that's one of the reasons they're doing so many rocket launches. One of the many reasons, which is other videos that I've got to get made, but it's because they keep launching these weather balloons. and these different balloons with these different technologies on them. For, like I said, Big Brother, MK Ultra, Blue Beam Project, how we so-called get our satellites for like satellite TV and for cell phones and stuff like that. They're constantly having to re-put these things in the sky. I think that they're flying longer than what they're saying, but when one goes down, they have to put another one back up to keep their lie going. They have to put that other one. They have to get another one up as soon as possible. And like I showed in that one video that I made about laser weapons and Google and weather balloons and stuff like that, is that they can control these balloons very easily, which I showed in that video. I recommend you go watch it. But they can control these things very easily from the ground, like a drone, and be able to get them to go wherever they want. And then you mix on top of that, you know, you got HARP and chemtrails, which is one, they use it for mind control, but they also use it for making the weather and controlling the weather. So if that's one possibility they could be using to control these balloons, is by controlling the weather and making it how they want, to move the balloons where they want them. And then you got that they, not only are they trying to figure out the dome and how it connects to the edge of the Earth, which is Antarctic, the Antarctic ice sheet, look it up. I believe that they're using that space to launch these things, besides off the rockets and different things like that, is because no one's allowed there except for special people with a special invitation. So they can launch these very easily and then move them into position where they want them, and nobody would know because you can't see them being launched, because you're not allowed to go in the areas that they're so-called studying, quote unquote.
The reason is Antarctica's circumpolar winds.
Cool. That was awesome. That was awesome.
These high stratospheric level winds set up during the Antarctic summer and circulate around the South Pole.
Yeah, see, there's no way that the sun, with the Earth spinning thousands of miles an hour, zipping through space, wobbling like a top, how would you get sun, 24-hour sun, in the Antarctic? How? That would not work. But like I've shown and explained in other videos, if it's on a circular motion going around the Earth, the biblical flat Earth, and it moves side to side on a circuit throughout the year at specific times of the year, it would be where the Antarctic and stuff would get that 24-hour sun for months. Because where it's positioned on the Earth, the sun never goes out of that area as it's going around the biblical, or the flat Earth on its circuit. You cannot make this what's physically seen and people physically live through in a science. You cannot make that work on NASA's model. There's just no way. You cannot make that work.
In a counterclockwise direction. This means NASA's giant scientific balloons, the largest being nearly 40 million cubic feet, can be launched.
Look at that. That looks like a satellite. And I mean, it could be anything. You can attach anything to these balloons, like I said at the beginning of the video, you know, and have like MK Ultra, Mind Control, Blue Beam Project, Big Brother for spying and stuff like that, for listening in on people's conversations and so on. It's just so much you could do with these on balloons compared to being where NASA says that they are. I mean, they're literally telling you the truth where they are, but where they lie and tell people they are, that they're all these satellites that never get shown on pictures or videos that NASA takes. You never see these except for in specific videos and pictures where they're trying to see, here's a satellite, see, here's this satellite, but where is it when they so-called show pictures of Earth or videos of Earth or their live streams of Earth, that they have specific positions of their cameras that's on fish with fisheye lenses. Where do you see all these thousands of satellites that are supposedly all over Earth, around Earth rather? You never see them, and when you do, they're CGI cartoon images that they put out. They're telling you the truth right here, guys. What I've been telling you and people like me have been telling you for years.
Ascend to 120,000 plus feet, the edge of space, and sail the circumpolar wind around the continent for 10 to 20 days.
And think about it this way. If they can do it in such a harsh environment as, say, the Atlantic, then they can make this kind of stuff work anywhere. And it's not just circular. I don't care what they say. See, they tell you the truth, and then they throw a bunch of lies in there to confuse you. It's not just going around the Atlantic. I mean, you literally heard the other guy in the other video that worked for NASA say that these are all over. Yes, they are studying the Atlantic, but it's not just the Atlantic. See, they're smoke and mirrors. They're saying, oh, we're only using this technology here. Everywhere else, we're using these satellites that are, going over around Earth and in space and this and that. Don't look over here. Kind of like the Wizard of Oz, the wizard. Don't look at these smoke and mirrors. Don't look behind the curtain. Look at over here. What I'm telling you.
On average. And in some of the most successful instances, flights can be terminated, and the balloon and payload recovered.
Like that. That's supposedly Earth, okay? First of all, fisheye lens. Second of all, where's all the satellites? Where do you see any satellites? That supposedly, we supposed to have this big old junkyard of satellites that are dead satellites and other ones that are alive that we use all the time. So where are they at? Where are the satellites? You'll never see them because they don't exist, other than what's on these balloons.
All within 100 miles of where they were launched. Riding this Antarctic vortex in 2008, a 7 million cubic foot super pressure test balloon flew for 54 days, setting a stratospheric scientific balloon flight duration record. Scientific test balloon flew for 54 days, setting a stratospheric scientific...
See what I mean? Look, CGI cartoons. Then you all of a sudden you see all these stars. You clearly see that CGI cartoons. See, the only time you see it the way NASA wants you to see it and says that it exists is in CGI cartoons, Hollywood props.
Balloon flight duration record.
Or
scientific ballooning operations here on...
Or green screens. I don't know if you could hear me because I was trying to talk over that. And you can clearly see it where you can see where it looks like it's their satellites. But then you see like that fake image like you just saw there. You saw the balloon flying with the satellite on it. And then you saw that cartoonish Earth and stars.
The ice are the result of a unique partnership between the National Science Foundation and the NASA Balloon Program. NASA funds the science, and NSF provides the support to scientific teams and their balloon-borne experiments. Like this one called STO, or the Stratospheric Terahertz Observatory. It's being readied for its first Antarctic summer flight at the NASA NSF Long Duration Balloon Facility at Williams Field.
See, and you got to ask yourself that. Why do they have a specific facility? It's in the Antarctic, which means we can't go there without being shot or something. Or kidnapped and put somewhere in a bunker. Excuse me. But they're spending all this money to have this facility just to do specific tests there in the Antarctic. Yo, come on.
The LDB launch facility is located on the Ross Ice Shelf, a 45-minute drive from McMurdo Station, when the weather's favorable. STO is designed to address a key problem in modern astrophysics, which is understanding the life cycle of star-forming molecular clouds in our Milky Way galaxy.
What we're doing is looking at specific emissions.
And see, this is where they start talking about the water above the firmament that they try to see through.
Features from carbon and nitrogen atoms out in space within our own galaxy.
In doing so, STO will map a swath of our galaxy with the world's most sensitive high-frequency radio receivers, essentially listening in to how clouds of gas and dust, which permeate the Milky Way, coalesce to ultimately spawn stars and planets.
But for instance, no one's actually ever captured a cloud, one of these molecular clouds in the process of formation. No one's been able to see that.
One reason is these atoms and molecules radiate at such a high frequency, over 1,000 billion cycles per second. Too slow to be observed with the human eye, but too fast to be observed through the blanket of water vapor that envelops the Earth's surface.
The blanket of water vapor that envelops the Earth's surface. That is the water. That is the water above the dome. That is the where God set the firmament to separate the waters from above from the waters below.
With STO, primary investigator Chris Walker and his multinational team have developed a way to capture and focus this far infrared light using a conventional optical telescope on a high-altitude balloon platform that flies far above most of the Earth's obscuring water vapor.
The light comes in, hits this mirror, goes up to a secondary mirror, and then sends it back through a hole in the bottom of the telescope. It comes right out the bottom of that telescope.
From there, a secondary optic system channels the far infrared light to superconducting detectors held within 5 Kelvin of absolute zero inside a liquid helium-cooled dewar. The telescope and the dewar, Walker is proud to point out, are recycled components.
And the original telescope was built, the way I understand the history, for flying on the space shuttle, but it never flew. And so it was actually in a warehouse at the Smithsonian, I was told.
And the cryostat was a prototype to cool instruments for the Spitzer Space Telescope.
We put the two together, and we really have a space-grade instrument that we're flying on the balloon.
Walker is equally savvy about how the economics of scientific ballooning can help further his team's science.
Oh, it's a huge significant stride forward. The main reason is when you compare balloon flights to space flights, you're limited in the size of your payload and the amount of power it can take. You're usually limited to an instrument that weighs a couple hundred pounds and takes a couple hundred watts. But with the balloon, you can actually fly much larger instruments that can look at a whole bunch of more of the Milky Way or extragalactic space than you would normally.
So according to them, with their so-called rocket space flights, you can't carry as much payload as you can with these balloons. Like I said, they're really not limited to what they can do with these balloons, besides satellites and stuff.
In the end, you can do more science than you could from orbit at a much smaller price.
STO was successfully readied and launched on January 15th, 2012. Carried aloft by a conventional 39 million cubic foot zero pressure balloon, the STO flight lasted for 14 days, completely circumnavigating Antarctica. The mission allowed extensive testing.
Again, where's the satellites? There's the sun, Fish Islands. So where's the satellites? that they're supposedly flying through space.
Of many flight systems to be conducted. STO was successfully terminated, recovered, and reconfigured to fly again in Antarctica on December 9th, 2016. The STO-2 flight lasted for 20 days, circumnavigating the continent twice. The mission verified the operational capability of advanced flight systems critical to the next generation of terahertz balloon-borne observatories, GUSTO.
And like that, that's guaranteed at fisheye lens. I mean, how would you not notice on a day-to-day basis that much curvature? Seeing it, feeling it, walking on it, whatever. How would you not notice that much curvature?
GUSTO will map the interstellar medium between 4 and 8 times faster than STO-2 and do so for 5 times longer, allowing a significant fraction of the Milky Way and all of the Large Magellanic Cloud to be surveyed in a single flight. It's an example of a new class of sophisticated science payload designed to take advantage of the revolutionary capabilities of NASA's new super pressure balloon platform, designed and engineered to keep science payloads aloft for 100 plus days.
So the cutting edge of science is independent of the tool you're using to advance.
And if you notice, these balloons are not designed to go against gravity or anything else like that. It's all density and buoyancy. Heat, pressure, moisture, stuff like that is what keeps these balloons flying for longer times and being able to be controlled.
Advance the science. There are still compelling science questions which can be answered on balloon platforms, and since balloon platforms are the most cost-effective way of going after these really important science questions, that's the way we should do it.
What the new scientific ballooning capabilities are offering us is a technology.
That big old satellite.
Enabling technology to get us to the edge of space, scientifically meaningful, for a longer duration at a reasonable cost. That's the technology.
And see, they always state to the edge of space for longer periods of time because you can't get past the dome. That's the edge of space. That's what they're calling the edge of space.
The need is there's lots of great science to be done that we can do on these platforms at lower cost and get the important training to be able to test out instruments. We may test out things that are very high value on a scientific balloon in anticipation of a future flight opportunity. And so now we've met a need with the technology, and that's real innovation. That's when NASA makes progress.
Look at that, flat. That's without a fisheye lens. All right, I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. I'll put all these links in the description box. You can go read all these articles yourself. Pretty much the video said the same exact things. But yeah, open your eyes, guys. This is what I've been telling you. So, these all links to the About Me section. Rate, comment, subscribe. Much love. God bless. And I'll see you on the next one.